Okay, there we go. Thanks for that. All right. How's everything going? I must say I'm quite amazed by what we've achieved. The quantum therapists and the non. When I say that, we're all in the quantum field anyway, and we're all capable of consciousness shifting and connecting to consciousness and working with our DNA and all those things. So, but when we work collectively, then we see really, really, really massive shifts. And I see Paolo here this evening, and a very happy birthday, Paolo. I think it was yesterday. So, wow, we've got another Libran in our midst. I see some more people coming through, so let me just let them in. I hope you had a really good day. Okay, so we're going to be looking at some of the findings and day 2. So how this is developed is that we had our 24-hour event whereby the quantum therapists turned on their devices at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night, South African time, and ran them for 24 hours. And we did various retests and improvement tests, and we documented quite a lot of information. And as I say, surprise, surprise, and amazement. There were some fantastic results. So I'm really, really pleased about that. I'm really pleased also about the ease with which humanity as such, because we typed in as the patient humanities immunity to COVID. And the whole idea is to raise our immunity to the COVID and basically remove COVID. COVID in a broadest sense, in the very broadest sense, okay? And as Daisy said, a lightning strike focus in regard to this. So that was our pure intention for 24 hours. And then there were the 4 electroceutical links. And if you missed them, I can also play them again. And I can put the links in the chat for us. I've absolutely thoroughly loved them. I found them very calming. And I've also found the energy right now on some levels, there's deep clarity, and on other levels there's turmoil, the chaos which we speak about. So I'm really experiencing turmoil and clarity. But when we reach more of a steady state of clarity, then we will have taken that paradigm shift, turning point, if you like, and wait for the repatterning. So right now, I think we're busy repatterning, which I always speak about with quantum. And it's important that we understand that, because a turning point will happen when chaos has created a degree of order. Some patterns have been produced, and then they'll stay there for a while in homeostasis, never exactly the same, and then there'll be a massive chaos area again, and then move to homeostasis, and so on, into infinite time, because we're always in a situation of what I call perpetual harmonic renewal. Okay, so that's just really awesome, because we never repeat anything exactly ever. So with that, it's an ever-learning, ever-advancing space, well, it should be. So if there's too many toxins around and negative thoughts and emotions, and we're not really the spiritual energy beings that we should be, then of course there's a more of a downward spiral, and we get the degeneration. So we're either going to cycle upwards or downwards, or maybe up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit, something like that as well. That's also possible. As long as the trend is up, I'm happy. So it's my wish to leave the planet on with a DNA and a much higher vibration. In other words, if we're only using 5% of our DNA on average per se, I definitely want to be using a much higher percentage of mine. And if 2 of the 12 or 13 strands are the double helix, from a physical point of view, I want to feed that double helix as best I can and treat it physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as best I can, and get the golden mean on a physical level spinning, which will then translate to the other dimensions and the other other strands, if you like. So that's my, you know, sort of my space, and everything we do and think about with, you know, focus, I think needs to be based on that, because it is our blueprint. It is our inner vibration. And as Sir John Templeton says, it's where, as it unfolds, that is where our purpose is held. So if we don't let that unfoldment happen, we're going to be blocked and not ever really achieve our purpose. So that's a very big space. So while we're doing this, and while we're raising humanity's immunity to COVID, what we're doing and why we're wanting to remove COVID, and we're going to be seeing it, and we are seeing it already, because the walls are coming down more than ever, faster than ever right now. And, you know, nature's responding. I'm noticing, you can probably hear the crickets, maybe not with this, the DNA music, but at nighttime, the nightjars, the crickets are louder than ever. Their sound is crystal clear. The daytime, the birds are really, really singing. And I would imagine in your parts of the world, the same is happening. And I really hope so. I know we're at differing stages of opening lockdown and into lockdown. And these are formalities that we're literally going to be going through. And I think probably till about March. But that's okay, because the trend is upwards. Okay. So I'm noticing that. I'm noticing, the breathing and the air. I'm noticing the air is really, really clear. And, well, look, we don't really get lots of chemtrails in South Africa, but you get the odd one or two, and I've not seen any for a very, very, very long time. And as I say, our air is really, really, really more pure. It's like, it's almost as pure now as it was kind of in the middle of lockdown when nobody was going anywhere. So that's good. I'm not saying there's still not the turmoil and still not that happening. So we're getting periods of clarity and periods of muddy water and turmoil. That is, I'm saying, that is exactly what's happening. So we've got these parallel things happening, but the clarity one is that trend is upwards, and the dirty, untruthful side is down. So that's very, very good. And what was very heartening this morning is that I went to the health pharmacy where we have an education on a Thursday morning. And the owner said to everybody, please go around and just, you know, let's hear what's good, what's happening, et cetera, et cetera. And everyone just started exclaiming about, literally, I should have taped it. I was just saying to myself, get your phone out and start taping this, because some of them were saying that in outlying areas, remote areas, people are saying, hey, there's something behind all of this. There's something behind the COVID. They were talking about the breath, the breathing, the energy levels. They were talking about generally happier nature, the little birds coming and sitting on a table at lunchtime. So, well, definitely where we are definitely noticing nice shifts. And then in the news, we can already see. So let's just see. We started, as I say, on the 24-hour thing, and I then documented everything, as did the other therapists. And then day by day, I'm running and I'm recording. And then on Sunday, I thought Sunday would be quite a good day, because it would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So end of Sunday, like 5 days, we could have a look. And those therapists that are taking part in all the assessment and the validation of what we're doing, we can put that together. And people who haven't been working with devices can put all that information together too. So that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, there's 4 webinars, exactly the same link. Okay, you've got to, it's a different, you all know how to get in, okay? Vanessa, you worked it out, good. I'm waiting. Lots of walls are coming down around me, and from what I'm reading and what you're reading. So that's phenomenal as well. And I noticed the holographic med beds are in full swing. I think Trump got into a holographic bed. I've been in one in Russia many times. I went in actually probably 14 times, just by the way. So now the secret's out. I'm joking, but that's where I first met these med beds. It was about 4 years ago. So there's a space for them, but, you know, as whatever Desi says as well, it needs to be validated and verified, and the people where I went couldn't. And I actually thought to myself, well, you know, this could go either way. Either my DNA shifted, well, either nothing happened, it shifted, or it went declined. So let's hope it didn't decline, but in any case. So we have to be careful also, you know, of wrong stimulation for the DNA. So, yeah, regarding the feedback, and I see some of the therapists have joined us as well. Just in a summary, and within no particular order, but we saw lots of things like lack of flaxseed oil, lack of fatty acids, too much lymphatic buildup, and too much cholesterol, and too much triglycerides and trans fats in the body. We definitely found a buildup of that. We found a lot of depression and anxiety. We found obviously some parasites, viruses, bacteria, fungi. We found the nervous system was damaged, definitely. The hormonal system as a result of it, the adrenals as a result of stress. People were definitely not breathing properly, and also not really hydrating themselves properly. But we managed to shift significantly in our with our devices on. So that was very, very nice. And I'm just having a look at the results. So we brought inflammation down quite considerably. It was there. It was definitely there. And as I said, I think it was yesterday, I'm not sure, but kind of things of humanity. Too many shoulds. We should have, and we didn't. Holding on to something of the past, holding on to the negativity. And then, you know, environmental toxins and things that we were exposed to. So lots of toxicity in the human body. And I also made the comment that some of my clients who, well, the one guy particularly lives in Israel, and I just got a feeling that there are a lot of toxins are getting thrown at them, and a lot of radiation, because normally when you're doing a quantum every week, there's definitely a trend upwards all the time. It just is. And with him, I'm not getting that. And I'm actually quite concerned about what he's been exposed to, put it that way. So we also picked up in our results hopeless despair, resistance to change, too much pride, too much aggression. In many instances, you know, people in awe of everything that's going around them, and in awe of lockdown, and in awe of this, and not really able to process and digest what was going on. But we did definitely see very nice shifts. But the greed, the envy, the jealousy, the desire for things to be different is still a big human trait. Also, the experience of betrayal, and I think that's absolutely huge. I don't think ever before humanity's had the wool pulled over their eyes as much as we have. And so there is that sense of inadequacy amongst people, which we're hoping to, with the right frequencies, the right feel-good, shift humanity into that space where, wow, they can do something. It's not sitting, we should have, actually doing things. So I think that would be really, really, as Desi said, that's going to be, you know, what we're looking for. We're looking for humanity's shift into manifestation, into action. Yeah, I'm just having a look. Lots and lots of strange energies and things that we've been exposed to. And I don't really want to show you all this because it just becomes too logical. But I showed the slide before, where we were concerned about the RNA, the mRNA in particular. And I looked specifically also at the magnetic spin because I saw magnetism was a big issue. We spoke about it as well. I saw crystal meths, which is a solvent, but actually used a lot as one of a sort of a readily, easily inexpensive drug to get hold of. And it's obviously been used a lot by humanity because it showed up. So, you know, that kind of thing But I did notice also that virus was nearly on 100 by the time I'd finished. That was very good. The blockages were to forgive God, to forgive the Father. So that's also interesting. So, you know, I suppose we do have choices as humans. Yeah, so those were the results. And just to say, I found, you know, really huge shifts. And I would love to hear from any of you in the group as well that are working with us. I see we have another birthday here, Judith. That's awesome. Happy birthday, the 9th. That's fantastic. So there's lots of birthday people. Probably quite good because Libran is balance and choice. So right now we are really trying to balance everything, and people do have a choice. And that's why probably that statement right now, forgive God, because we do have a choice, you see. So maybe that's relevant. So, yeah, I'm very pleased with how we're doing. Desi said everything's perfect, A-OK. She said everybody relax and just basically watch. Do what you need to with your focus, your intention, and, well, let's see. So, exciting and very exciting to be part of all of this. So what I thought I would do, and I'm just going to wait for any of you to give feedback regarding your experiences. Did you see something amazing? Did you hear something amazing? Did somebody tell you something amazing? Did a big wall come down somewhere? Did you feel your own awakening? So on Tuesday, I talked about DNA activation, and I talked about how do you know if your DNA is activated? And you can step back and watch yourself and see what you're doing. Are you running around spending, buying material things, buying things you don't really need, worrying about trivialities, gossiping, probably in the wrong job, probably with wrong company, eating processed foods, etc., etc. Are you Nets is also on the 9th. My gosh, that's a group of Librans that we have here. Thank goodness. That's a good sign for right here and now. And don't worry, because next month will be perfect too. So are we busy with all these old negative things that we always used to do that got us nowhere and served us, and go to the shop forever, get absolutely completely tired, exhausted, have all the electrons sucked out of you, running up bills, not able to also meet your payments, and just all those old negative, old paradigm things? Are you doing that? Or are you just busy and not manifesting, in fact? So you can step back and have a look at this. And when you've done that and you've done some meditations and you've actually asked yourself, is this serving me? Because that's always the question. Is what I'm doing right here and now serving me, serving my purpose, serving humanity? Because if it's not, then you can start answering those questions for yourself. So what I deduced from doing some of the research, and also the PhD that I'm doing, is that when you reach the stage when you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I can actually let go of that, and I can actually go and serve humanity a bit to start with. Even I can do this in self-sacrifice. I can go and do this for humanity, even if it's small things. Even if it's one of my clients was telling me it's bread, but anyway, she takes bread to people on I think it's a Saturday or a Sunday, where you get about 100 people lining up with boards. I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, I'm a floor tiler, whatever. And she hands out loaves of bread. She's not expecting anything back. She's not judging. It's emotionless. She's doing it. The other one drives around with bags of green apples in her car and hands those out wherever she can. So those are like just little small things. So when you start, as I say, reaching that stage where you wanting to reach out to humanity and do certain things. Train, teach, educate. I mean, even my company, we doubled during lockdown. I just brought people in and I trained people and I did things because I wanted to. I just wanted to. And I also saw the terrible situation with, people who've lost their jobs and stuff. And anyway, so then when you get to that point, then this is where it becomes all what we call potential energy. It's all in the spiritualization of the space. It hasn't really manifested into anything. Then when you actually get in your car and go and buy the loaves of bread and hand them out, to use a very simple example, that is now spiritualization of matter. Right, so where you've gone from potential energy into kinetic energy. And if you don't know what your purpose is, if you're sitting here and you're not sure what your purpose is, you can find out what your passion is. And that's going to direct you exactly. So is your passion teaching? Is it your passion healing people? Is it your passion to grow flowers? Is it your passion to grow vegetables? Is your passion, I don't know, purifying water? Every single person's is as important as anyone else's. But don't desire to do someone else's purpose. That's not going to work for you either. So when you are actually living in your purpose because you're in the flow, right? Everything's just working according to plan. And I know myself, and I'm sure you catch yourselves as well. The minute I deviate, because I've got a little bit of curiosity, the minute I deviate and go slightly off track just for fun, just to have a little look, sure, I get really exhausted, I get tired, things don't flow so nicely. But when I'm back back on track, in the zone, then it works nicely. Things are smooth. And I'm fulfilled, and you don't get tired, and there's a beautiful exchange of electrons all the time, and a constant flow of electrons. So let's have a look a little bit at some of the slides I put together, and I'm not really able to do a presentation right now without speaking about some of the products that enhance the unfoldment of our DNA and the activation, because I would really be not doing my purpose, by the way, if I didn't mention those products. So that's going to happen right at the end. I like to do that. Okay, let's just see what I wanted to share with you today. So looking at the consciousness and the activation of not just the DNA, the whole entire genetic material of the body, put it that way. So let's just focus then specifically on the DNA, and I've got some pictures of DNA as well, if you just to get the strand and everything into like a mental image. Consciousness and DNA are really synonymous in the sense, and it is the space of infinite possibilities. And we can also talk about pineal gland, and we're going to talk about special foods that also connect us with consciousness and activate the DNA. This is what we're talking about. So DNA carries the creator energy, the essence, the absolute creational truth essence. And the body needs to have the right charge for this, the right electromagnetic charge. Okay. So the biology will follow, all right, if the electromagnetic charge is there. It's where the potential energy shifts to kinetic energy, right at that center point. It is a hologram. Okay, and it's the golden mean spinning. Every single DNA. DNA is where our transformation occurs. It's the place where peace and solace of consciousness are achieved. So when we're talking about peace, and this is where somebody like Dipta Ben, who presents for us, talks about the similarities between physically boosting our DNA and spiritually boosting our DNA. And when we talk about power on a physical level, voltage times amps, which equals watts, she's talking about joy as power. She will manifest, and where her transformation will come through is through the spiritual realm, manifesting joy. Whereas on a physical level, we're getting all the structures right so that joy can manifest. It's both sides of the same coin, same side of, or whatever, of the same coin. Okay, it's just where you're coming in from, and the one feeds off the other, and vice versa. So DNA is the place. Okay, sorry. DNA is the double helix is sacred. It's unique, and humans contain the creator energy, whereas animals, plants, the soil, little insects and stuff, they have DNA, but they don't have the exact spin that we do. So they recognize the creator energy. And that is why our dogs are our best friends, and plants will absolutely grow for us. Completely. It reminds me of a little prayer that we used to say, my children and I, fruits from earth, gifts from heaven, in deeds of sacrifice to mankind given. Blessings on our meal. We used to say that every night. And the little seeds, the little plants, you hold them, you put them in your mouth, you walk on the earth near them, and all they want to do is they just want to grow as medicine for you. They will grow to correct imbalances and just literally like little fairies around the creator energy. So this is beautiful. And also to say that we use about 5% of our DNA. I don't know if it's 5, 6, or 7, but on average. So some people are using maybe 10%. That's really small. And the old thought was forget about the rest, it's junk DNA. I mean, have you ever? But no, this is the part we need to activate, the remainder. And if you think about how far we've got to go, and I don't really know where they get 5% because I'm not really sure how they measure it, but the point of the matter is we've got a long, long, long way to go. And then the first 2 strands are the physical, which we see, and the other 10 or 11 are work in other dimensions. So very, very, very important regarding DNA is that the environment imprints on it. So in the same way as when the body receives a stressor and it goes, gets carried around the blood to the hypothalamus, where we get chemical messengers getting released through the pituitary and so on, and to the adrenals and the cells and all that kind of things happening. That kind of stressor, when it hits the cell membrane, affects and imprints on the DNA in each and every one of those cells. So if you've got this constant, ongoing, long-term stress hitting at every single cell as it's divides and gets distorted, that the DNA inside is distorted. Radiation will distort the DNA and the cell. So we have to really recognize that. And this gives rise to epigenetics, right? Epigenetics, it's a little bit above the gene itself, but totally dependent upon the environment. And you can look at that very holistically in terms of where you live. Again, the company, is nature around you? Do you get in the sun? Do you exercise? You know, your food, because all of that's going to imprint. If you grow your own food and you bring it basically soil to table, it's a completely different energetic thing that you're eating, put it that way. So all of these things are going to shape our DNA. We've got the genetics from our inheritance, okay, fortunately or unfortunately. And there's SNPs and all sorts of stuff. And there's a diabetic inheritance, and there's lipid deposition inheritance, and there's cancer inheritance, all of those things. So that means that the cross of the DNA is actually, parts of it are distorted. So remember, the DNA is a perfect cross. And if you allow me to, I'll get up in a moment, and I want to bring you and show you some of the things that I picked up in Russia. Okay, so we'll do that towards the end. Okay, so let's see. This is just by way of introduction. So there's various things that you can do to activate the DNA, all right? And obviously we have devices that can do this. right? Absolutely perfectly. That is exactly what we're doing, because we're working with the scalar energy, we're working with the vortexes, we're working with the unfoldment of the DNA, the golden mean. So when we align the body electric, we are restoring and realigning the golden mean. It's absolutely beautiful. And when we measure and remeasure the VAHOP improvement and the reset, we are really measuring what we've achieved, geometrically, spiritually, emotionally, neurologically, physically. The fact that we've had the ability to enhance the utilization of water by the body, enhance the use of oxygen by the body, raise the vitality of the cell, raise the charge of the body. As I said to you, we are electromagnetic. All the rest, the biology and everything falls into place after that. Okay, so we need to talk about the electromagnetism, all right? And this is where the DNA thrives and where it needs to operate from. So those of you with quantum devices, it's very important that you look at the magnetic spin, the left and the right, and the positive and the negative, because it gives you huge clues as to the dynamic electromagnetic situation of whoever's sitting in front of you, or if it's yourself. So very, very, very important, this electromagnetic story. The almost gold is an electromagnetic capacitor, beginning and end of it. It's in a form that we can readily use it, easily use it. I know there's some people in the group that have, I've sent some of the almost gold rejuvenating elixir to, and they've used it already. The more you use it, you just get onto a higher and a higher plane. The more you use it, the more it shifts your DNA. It allows the DNA helix to unfold and to wind up again. So if there was a lot of electromagnetic smog, a lot of aeroplane going through the X-ray machine at airports, or X-rays onto your body, or over-processed foods, etc., that have distorted the DNA in any way, you get the chance it unravels and then the helix ravels up again. The telomeres grow, and the electromagnetic charge of the DNA of the body goes into alignment. So almost gold is definitely a substance for DNA activation. There's no question about it. It's incredibly subtle. Dosage-wise, a maintenance dose of about 2 teaspoonfuls in water a day, or you can do a detox where you do about a tablespoon 4 or 5 times a day. And you will do an electromagnetic detox that you're not used to at all. So, yeah, very, very, very interesting. So the body will naturally detox to restore the spin. And we'll talk about a lot of nutraceuticals just now, and we'll talk about also, I think it's called the dark room at in the Tao Garden. Okay, and how to prepare for that. And then sound as well. So the sound, the ringing of bells, in your villages, especially in Europe and all over, that ringing sound is a DNA reset. The singing of birds in the morning is a basically it's a global world human reset when you hear those birds singing. So those are people who get up after 6, 7, 8, 9 in the morning. You never hear those birds. That's really sad. So, but you do hear it subconsciously, let's say, but it's that whole ringing, that whole sound effect is what shifts the epigenetic area, the environment that we're living in, resets a lot of things, and enhances DNA transformation. And in those churches where they ring the bells, and especially if there's a dome shape, because space, if there's a dome shape, a dwelling with ringing bells, any kind of a bell, even those musical bowls, that vibration will reset the human DNA. And you'll find in those churches you don't get viruses, bacteria, and fungi. They don't like it. The vibration is too high there. You won't find it in those domes in the churches. Not possible. Okay, so there was methods in our ancestors' apparent madness. Do you know what I mean? There was huge essence in what they did and what they actually taught us and what we forgot about. And it just actually does remind me of Moscow, because Moscow is a city, I don't know if any of you have been there, but a lot of you are very close, so go. But there are literally domes wherever you look, golden domes made of gold. There are just golden dome shapes. I don't know how many in that city pointing up to the sky. I have no idea. It is enchanted. I'm not talking about what should I say? What's happened to humanity in Russia is another thing, but they don't smile. They just absolutely don't smile. It's really not nice. And for someone coming from South Africa, where, listen, we're generally friendly. We talk to everyone. We talk to the tellers in the bank. We talk to the tellers in the shop. We talk. And so on the 2 occasions that I went to Russia, you know, I couldn't believe the starkness of this. There's just no emotion. There's just not any emotion. And I got on the plane to come home, and then there was an au pair looking after children. And she smiled at me, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's hope for humanity again, because nobody had smiled at me in 2 weeks. So in any case, this is just a bit of a contrast in that city. The city is amazing. It's like another planet. It is absolutely enchanted, even from the Kremlin. It is beautiful. So just to say, it was one of the places where I saw the most dome-shaped churches, places of worship I've ever seen in my life. So, anyway, we don't want to digress too far. Sound and shape, the dome shapes. So similarly, our ancestors used to make round houses with straw dome-shaped roofs. Now you will find these in Africa. You will find them at Stonehenge in the UK. You will find them in Russia, in the Urals in Russia. I found exactly those same rondovels. We call them a rondovel, a round house. So they're roundedness, no corners, and the dome at the top. Our pineal gland will receive that frequency. I can't quote research here, but this is what happens. So because of the scalar wave of a dome, it reacts with our pineal gland directly, and we heal. So what I did see was one of the architects that helped me once, a really organic architect, showed me infrared photographs of a person who'd been in a 4-walled room with a flat ceiling for an amount of time. And the infrared aura was really close to the body. It wasn't broad at all. And then that same person went into a dome-shaped room. I forget whether it was 5, 6, 7, or 8-sided room with a dome. So you got the scalar wave moving around, and you got the pineal interacting, etc. And then you look at the contrast in the aura. It's just a simple photograph, infrared photograph, and it was really, really, really broad. So healing happens. There's a reset when you're in the right building. Right now, if you're sitting in a 4-cornered room with a flat ceiling, you are being drained of electrons. So your body is losing charge. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say, and that's why our ancestors did that. And also the shape of the pyramids. So we all led to believe that the king this and the king that, and they're all buried in there. They never really found the king, definitely not in the Great Pyramid. They haven't found that the king's supposed to be there, right? And I spent extensive time there in Egypt, in Cairo, extensive, with the people whose forefathers actually lived at the footholds of the pyramids however many years ago. So these are families that knew things that haven't even been written in textbooks. And I saw the pyramids are energy capacitors, and I think a lot of you know this anyway. They're energy capacitors. That's exactly what they are. And it was really also disheartening to find that the gold top of, well, the main pyramid, in any event, it's gone. It was moved and it's been put onto another building. So, you know, humanity's really had its go at damaging and distorting everything that was put in place for us. Anyway, so that's just to say, so pyramid shape is very important. Geometry is very important. Symmetry is very important for the DNA, because the DNA is symmetrical. It's an exact cross. Not actually the Christian cross where they've raised the crossbar up. It's the exact cross. And you'll find that in materials. You'll find it in mugs and cups and things. And if we've got time today, I'll get them out. They're just behind me to show you the extent that our R1A and R1B ancestors. There's only two. There's only two RNA genetic strains, and they're virtually identical. One is R1A coming out of Russia. The other one is R1B coming out of Mali in Africa. Okay, and you will see similar materials. You will see similar geometry, because they lived, they ate, they breathed their DNA. The essence of their DNA. They did whatever they could to maintain that vibration. Plaiting of their hair. And I went into RKM, which is in the middle of the Urals. And there's an ancient city built on the Golden Mean out of wood. So all the little rooms, so there's all the little corridors in the Golden Mean shape, and then each little room is divided into that shape. And many people lived in that city, in those little rooms, and they slept there, and then they went out in the daytime. It was really, really fascinating. And there was a museum there, and there was again a lady whose families, whatever, were from RKM, and she took us around this museum, and she showed us, by the way, very interesting, the clothing was preserved using bronze metal. So there was clothing that was perfect, not joking. And well, I mean, you could see it wasn't modern day, but I mean, it wasn't in any way moth-eaten or anything. And then the plaiting of the hair. So the woman would plait their hair, strengthening the DNA. They would do lots of plaiting creative work. Similarly to what a Waldorf school would do for the children up to 7 years. They would do everything to connect the left and the right hemispheres and the spin of the DNA, just by the way. So I saw amazing things there, and amazing artifacts and amazing patterns. So the plaiting is very important. And then the specific cross that you see in materials, in designs, in patterns, in jewelry. And as I said, I'll go get some just now if you want. And then doing anything on a creative side again, where you're using left and right, will restore the vibration of the DNA. It's not only food. It's not only food and thought. So Julie's saying yes, those round houses, Jules, that's absolutely right. In Devon and Cornwall, I also saw them, but then she says they're not being used. So in South Africa, they are being used, just by the way. Yes. So but you know, the trend is to move into a square, four-cornered house with a straight roof. You know. Nothing creative at all. And I must say, coming from South Africa, when I go to Europe, in fact, I kind of need to go to get a fix. I need to go and get the symmetry, the buildings, the architecture. It does things for my DNA. And many of you live with it every single day. Similarly, to go to sacred sites. And this is also one of my most favorite things ever. So you go to the sacred sites where you've got the paramagnetic rock. Paramagnetic rock doesn't have earth spin, or it's a cosmic spin. And the compass doesn't have any spin near those rocks. It actually loses the earth magnetism, by the way. And you just put your hands on those rocks. It's amazing. And in South Africa, in the Urals, in the UK, Scotland, all over, France. And you see the etchings on those rocks as well. It's incredible. The stone circles, we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of stone circles from sort of halfway up South Africa through Zimbabwe. And the stones are specifically placed. I went with a man who actually found a sacred site called Adam's Calendar, and you can Google Adam's Calendar, and there are these huge monolithic rocks, all paramagnetic, and you walk in amongst them and your compass just loses connection. But he's put these stone circles onto a CAD machine, an engineering CAD machine, and every single one of them are linked to the sun, the equinoxes, the solstices. There's a north, there's a south, there's an east, there's a west. Now imagine all these stones in circles. They are definitely not for cattle. Okay, but where's the roof? And there's no door at all. The land's riddled with it. You just have to drive on the highway and stop, and you'll find these things. There are just gazillions of them. There's no roof. So there must have been a roof. There must have been a dome roof at some stage. I don't know. Maybe they were landing sites. I don't know what they were, but I actually think that the ancestors, and they definitely used them, and they definitely dwelled there. And when you go into the middle of these stone circles, the compass loses its electromagnetic attraction as well. And I just believe that your DNA starts resetting as a result. So there's lots and lots and lots to talk about and expand upon here. And, just looking deeply into a rose, there's the golden mean. So when you put rose oil on you, frankincense, myrrh, gold itself, you're just resetting. That's almost gold. You're resetting your DNA. Almost gold, I just want to say something, is made of the platinum precious metal minerals, okay? Gold, silver, copper, nickel, iridium, osmium, rhodium. There's about 7 or 8 of them. Only now are you seeing some articles in the medical journals about the use in degenerative cancer and so on. Palladium, it just guns straight for the degenerative tissue. It's in the ormus. So people don't really even know what they're taking, and it's in spring water. It's in trees, in the roots to take the sap right to the top of the tree. So it's a living thing that there's more ormus gold than there's normal gold on the planet. So, those people that came and took the gold, the physical gold, they should have siphoned up and taken the ormus gold. Maybe it does get siphoned up. I don't know. It's another space. Okay, so here's a nice one. I tried to make it as big as I could. Okay, so we're starting here in the middle. We're starting here in Mali. This is Africa on its side. I should have brought all my things out to show you. I'll go and fetch just now. So if you can imagine Africa on its side. Okay, Africa is the only continent really with the geometric shape. So there's Mali in the middle. Oh, I'm just playing. But right, denying the experience. Then you get what they call a noetic experience. Then you get exploration, continually seeking. Then you're getting a place called finding a practice. Practice becomes and rather than means. Doesn't mean this, it becomes, starting to manifest. Life as a practice becomes all about me. Then we come to we. Okay, this is pure unfoldment of the DNA. So John Templeton, I urge you to get his book. It's amazing. And he's a stockbroker from the UK, Jules, who had an epiphany, right? And he suddenly got life. And he explains the creativity in our living our purpose and the unfoldment of the DNA. So here we have it. This isn't his, it's someone else, but never mind. So we're moving from I to we. Okay? And then we start living more deeply, living more in a community, and then we get collective transformation. So when the astrologers speak, when who else is speaking about serving humanity? Doesn't matter. Whoever's starting to speak about serving humanity is because they're there. All right, they're absolutely there. And that's what I was saying to you. When you start saying, what can I do for humanity? You know, I can give you this example of one client of mine, okay? Referred to me. So there's clients that gravitate to you, and there's clients that get referred to you, right? So the ones that gravitate to you are the ones I believe are on your vibration. The ones that get directly referred to you because they're down and out, their health is finished, and everything else about their life is finished, is a slightly different thing. I don't think you directly attracted them. And it's quite hard work to work with these people, but nevertheless, it's quite a nice sounding board. So get referred these people were, all right? And I think this has happened to a lot of people in lockdown, were extremely wealthy. They were traders. And for whatever reason, people that were trading for them didn't happen properly, and they now owe millions and millions of dollars to people, their clients. So they are in one hell of a state, and they are literally hiding. So they get referred to me, okay? And I need to now start unfolding this thing and unraveling all of this. And so I was just trying to see where they were exactly. I mean, I sort of knew where they were, you know, denying. They were in complete denial of where they really were, but they knew. I mean, they put their foot out of South Africa, they would just go straight into jail. So anyway, I was trying to help them. And of course, the blood sugar's through the roof, the blood pressure's through the roof, they're not sleeping, and everything that goes with it as well. So anyway, we're talking. So I say he's telling me about how he worked for the stock exchange, and he was the big deal there, and the consultant there, and all this. And I'm just listening to all of this because that is that old pattern that I told you about. It's just not serving us anymore. It doesn't actually matter. But in any case, I'm getting to my point. So I said to the guy, well, what did you used to do for charity? You know, did you support? Yes, we definitely supported charity. We used to give a percentage towards lunch for blah, blah, blah charities. I think to myself, wow. So no, I'm just not connecting the dots here, because if these people were so charity orientated and gave and served humanity and everything, you know, why is this discord? In any case, it transpired they did it once a year. He told me the cost of it was 70,000 Rand, which divide by 17 gives you US dollars, which is nothing. Okay. They did that once a year, and that to him was an enormous gift to humanity. Okay. So we've got to get this balance right. All right. And we will, and we are. So when we hear, can you actually see there's even the cross here? There's even the DNA at the end. Oh, this is just a beautiful, beautiful slide, okay? So I hope you've loved that slide. I do. You could meditate on that, quite frankly. Okay, now I've used the slide before, but I just wanted to show the people who, let me see in the chat here and also sitting in. Okay, I'm thinking quite a lot of quantum people here, right? Never mind. So I just want to say briefly, I'm not going to spend a long time because I'm really running out of time, and I also promised you a lot of stuff, okay? But this is the RNA DNA. When you type in RNA DNA in the matrix, I want you to go and go there and look and start reading up and down here about what you get, because we can measure the strength of the RNA, the DNA. We can repair every 23 pairs of chromosomes, okay? And this one here as well, if you don't know about it, but here are the nuclear proteins, these 5. Adenosine as well, by the way, because it's the precursor to adenine. So these 6, ending with thymine, are the nuclear proteins, the proteins that build the DNA. So that's where, if I don't speak about my replica RNA DNA product, I've literally failed, because that product contains all 5 nuclear proteins. So when the almost unravels the spiral and there's SNPs, and you see A will join with G, C will join with T as a protein. You're still stuck in the RNA side. But replica RNA encourages mRNA, which is the messenger RNA. RNA is 1 strand and DNA is 2, okay? If you don't have the building blocks, even if the illness is unwound and wound you up, you still got a snip, because the A couldn't find a G. What wasn't in the body. Okay, so we got to have these things. That's our central core, and these proteins are grown off a yeast extract. The yeast is washed off. It's completely natural, completely intact. I don't know how much time we're going to have. We might have to split this into another day. But here's also telling us all about genetics. The genetics. If you type genetics into the matrix, and then you see all sorts of things. So just use your devices as and then it will even talk about chromosomes, the 5p and the. Just use your devices to really train yourself. Here's our beautiful vortex. This is exactly what we're doing. This is the spin. So that golden mean that I showed you is exactly what's happening downwards and exactly what's happening upwards, and exactly the yin-yang kind of a flow. And the scalar wave is around it. Okay, one coming this way, one going that way, right? So when we realign, we throw off anything that's going to mess up this beautiful scalar vortex. So when you're in a domed room, this is what's happening. If through the pineal, you're resetting the spin of your whole body. You just have to be there. You don't even have to do anything. I have an octagon in my home. Whoever's been here, I don't know. But I wonder, I think I'll do the presentation and then show you. It's just beautiful. All right. So just we're talking about this genome, which is the treasury of our human inheritance, and that's it. Inherited from the morphogenic field, not from our ancestors, but they came from the morphogenic field, if you like. But some people miss out. They come in, they're star children, and they're on another dimension. There's many of them, and they were called crystal children. They're called all sorts of things. Their vibration is so high that modern medicine is really, really toxic for them. They can't cope at all. They're sensitive and have to be looked after carefully, and they need to eat the right sort of foods. That's for sure. So we got to get this, the sequence, the 46 chromosomes, etc., etc. That's just all really biology here. And we start getting genetic disorders when we start getting SNPs and splits and things. So what I wanted to just say here, what I started off in the beginning saying as well, is that there's this, you can approach the DNA from two sides. The spiritual side, which is all those dimensions, and there's most of them there, by the way. And the physical side, which is the two strands, okay? And we can activate it using all these lovely things. So our emotions are going to affect the DNA. They're going to affect the spin. And you can catch yourself as well. And by the way, something made me look at my logo, but you can see here, I've got an 8-sided by design. This is a little fractal, okay? And completely by design. A small one and a larger one. And then I've got the DNA strand. You see the crosses? So this is why we need to eat food that's got the right DNA form. I think you're getting it now. We need to eat food that's in the cross form. Otherwise, we're going to take our energy to transform it. So every emotion is going to affect our genes, that vibration of the emotion. And, when we interfere in that, we've got a problem. This is a lady, I did talk about this before. And she talks about the genes, and there's a special gene that she's isolated. It starts getting reduction. It's too reductionist for me, but anyway, she's isolated this gene, and people that are deficient or defective, where there's a deletion of this gene, will place more emphasis on the negative side of the world. So how do we fix all this? We can fix this with the right foods, easy. Sunshine, we just get all the balance right again. So what else did she have to say? She said that, so you're going to, the same gene, you're just going to perceive things positively or negatively more vividly. So those people that are busy bothering about the trivialities of life, those are the ones that are either have a defective or say definitely creating defectiveness. So Jules is saying cruciferous vegetables. That's beautiful. All right. Those of you who haven't met Julie, Jules is from the UK, from London. Okay. She's actually a finance person who's gone into health. So Jules is talking about the cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables. If you have a look, they've normally got 4 little flowers. Okay, they're in the cross. And many of them, and I'm thinking of some of these beautiful, beautiful cauliflowers that are in the golden mean. I think you know can picture the one that I'm speaking about. When you eat these foods, just don't even cook them. Eat them straight raw, because you're literally eating golden mean food. Okay, broccolis, Brussels sprouts, all cruciferous foods. Okay. You can see, so when I'm doing my purpose, you can see how happy I am. It's just when there's 14 skios and 15 orders and those kind of things, then it's too much of the purpose in any case. All right. So emotions not only affect how we feel about the world, but how our brains are going to influence our perception. Right? Remember, the brain is basically you don't get a brain feel. It's not a sense organ like that. So it gets told what to do from the body, and it will send chemical messages, and will process, and it will release hormones. It's a throughway, if you like, on a body's metabolic space, and then it's a chalice. So just receives. So if we tell it to do something, it will do it. If we tell the brain we're going to come last in the race, we will. If we tell the brain we're going to come first in the race, chances are we will. It's just whatever we tell it, however you want it to influence you, it will do that for you. Just have to tell it. If you don't tell it, it's going to influence you, however it goes. Okay, so I mean, look, yeah, I don't place huge amounts of importance on understanding the brain. I think we've got to understand physical, emotional, spiritual, and then that brain comes into place. Because it's created anxiety because of a fake emotion has told it to, or there's been a stressor that hasn't been dealt with, the stressor that brought in fear and told the brain that there's fear. Okay. So our brains need to go over there for a long time. We can't be dictated to by them. And what we eat affects how we think, and it affects what we do. Right. So that brain gets affected by stimuli so easy, and that's going to just destroy the DNA. So people who have the deletion variant are drawing on additional network in their brains, important for calculating the emotional relevance of things in the world. Any situation where noticing what's relevant in the environment is important. And this gene variation would be a positive. So again, is your glass half full or half empty? Helen, you can meet those people where that glass is half empty all the time. It doesn't matter what you do. So there's possibly, from a scientific point of view, a bit of a gene variant, a bit of a missing part. And we can look at how the parts get missing. I'll show you in a moment. So stressful thoughts is going to shorten our lifespan. Mindfulness, meditation, and they looked at studies here, that same researcher, and people with breast cancer, those that meditated and those that didn't. The ones that meditated had a longer telomere length. The telomere is a little shoelace at the end of the double strand. So there's the double strand helix. At the end, you get the 2 little shoelaces. Those are the telomeres, and they determine our aging. So everyone's trying to grow their telomeres. Don't worry, the Ormus does it for you. Does it for you. Everything's about electromagnetism. Okay, so we can biologically feed the physical material, of course, and we can also destroy the material biologically and with food, but it's about the electromagnetism of the gene. Okay, it's out there now. I think I better write the book on that. So all these environmental factors are going to affect it, and you ladies are trained, so I don't have to go too much into all of this. So the genome, the epigenome, is when the environment comes into play. Genes express when they are transcribed into RNA. So this transcription is so important, and you need enzymes and you need the biology. So you need the biology there for this to happen. Translated into proteins by the ribosomes, okay? And then the proteins determine a cell's characteristics and functions, the nature of that protein. So if it's deficient in adenine or guanine or one of those nuclear proteins, it's going to affect how that cell's going to function. Get the cell right, and it's not exclusive to any area of the body. All the cells will get improved at the same time. They will all improve. Okay, so let me see quickly some more here. So, even I just want to make this point, is that we're doing this Raising Humanities Immunity to COVID. I hope all of you are raising your own, because it starts here. It starts with us. We need to be interconnected, interdependent, doing all these kind of mindful, meaningful things in order to bring about the shift we're expecting. We can't just really sit on with our computer, put the quantum on, and hope for it. We have to enact this. We have to manifest the change we want to see in order for it to happen. See, I wrote there, this was world before. Be see our service to the world. See ourselves to be inclusive in humanity. So this is when we start getting distortions and things, and methyl groups inhibit this transcription of the proteins. And the proteins become too tight and they wind around the gene. And the gene doesn't switch off, it just becomes silent. So if you've got this cross and you've got the proteins getting too tightly wound around it, then it can't work. So they become silent. You get a disease. The problem is often the wrong cell division, and that's what I think Desi is teaching so much, and myself. We've got to get this every single cell division perfect. From the cell membrane, the charge of it, the contents of the cell, so that there's no distortion. So here we have our cell here. Okay. So some of the tags are boost the DNA, and others cause unwinding. Right. So there's the products we talked about. The microbiome reset we have to have, because we're 90% microbial. We are 99%. Our genes, 99% of our genes are that of microbes. So I want the best microbes in me. Thanks very much. They can imprint on my DNA and their own DNA and all of that. They can bring that whole lot into me. They can act as part of my army when there's stress, when there's a foreign particle in me, because the beneficial bacteria, fungi, and yeast shapeshift into the aggressive form, which is what I want. And they go with the immune system and clean up the toxin, clean up the distorted DNA fragments, clean up the broken DNA pieces, clean up the mud in the body, anything that's wrongly charged, along with all these other things that are working. And an antioxidant is phenomenal. It will go and scavenge the free radicals, and so will an oxidant. Will also scavenge the free radicals, but differently. So an antioxidant in its outer orbit has got free electrons. So almost gold has got an inexplicable amount of free electrons. Vitamin C's got a lot. Phyto C is made of 12 antioxidants. They've got a lot of electrons to share. So when you've got a free radical, let's say a heavy metal, let's say lead floating around, or a piece of nicotine or something, the antioxidant will release the loosely bonded electrons straight to go and neutralize that free radical straight away, so that it doesn't go and take the electrons from the stomach or the heart or the liver or wherever. So they instantly, an antioxidant will give off electrons, will release them and quickly neutralize this free radical. So it's so important, because free radicals damage the DNA. Then that's how an antioxidant works, whereas an oxidant will actually take the electron in, So that's what that will do. So there's special molecules that do that, and oxygen is definitely one of those molecules that does that. It will take the electrons. It'll actually scavenge and break up the free radical. So it'll annihilate it into subatomic particles that are rendered inactive, put it that way, and clear them out. See, so there's the two. So you never take, those of you that are affiliates and those of you who are practitioners, you never take an antioxidant with an oxidant. Okay, do you get that? Because you're going to neutralize your effects. You're not going to have an effect in the patient or the client at all. You're not going to happen. So you need to take antioxidants at one time of the day, oxidants at another time of the day. Okay. Tea and coffee are antioxidants. You don't have them anywhere near oxygen. Let the oxygen do its work on its own. I don't know what's left here, but I think it's getting on a bit. I just want to show you some pictures. So there's our DNA strand, and there's a whole lot of things that cause damage. I didn't even finish the list, but because there's too many. Okay, so anything that's causing damage there is going to cause free radicals and not the correct structure. Here's our double helix, and here are the nucleotide proteins. Can you see? So an A and a G, an A and a T, a C and a G. All right, and depending on how these are connected, the patterns. Oh, also, if you want to stimulate your DNA, start doing beading with patterns. It's marvelous. So you can see what's happening here. So these proteins are purines and pyrimidines, just so you know. So I wanted to share that with you, and then, okay, then we've got almost, I think, okay, so this is important here with the nuclear protein, the replica, okay? And I think we can make this the last slide. There's the A and the T, there's the G and the C, okay? There's the ribose, the sugar molecule, and there's the phosphate. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Ribose, the sugar. You get ribonucleic acid and deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA and DNA. This whole portion here, the protein, the sugar, and the phosphate is called the nucleotide. The nucleic acid is the protein. A base pair is the two of them. And between them here, you get a hydrogen bond. There they are there. Okay. So basically, they are bacterial cell wall fragments with all the nuclear proteins which start resetting our DNA. So I'm going to end there. Do you want to see something?